Hi, Chibi here. It's been a really long time since I've done a retrospective, so for a change I thought I would do one on a show that's a little more recent. Like late 90s recent. So some of you may be surprised to know that I'm actually a big fan of ancient Egyptian history. So no, I'm not just a Japanese buff. As you can see, I have Egyptian trinkets around the house. Well, okay, they're Bastet related, but they're still Egyptian. I also have an encyclopedia of all the Egyptian gods and goddesses, and I also have a complete English translation of the Book of the Dead. Because, you know, one can't be too careful about the afterlife. And when it comes to documentaries, ancient Egyptian ones are my favorite. I've been watching them all since I was a kid. So you can imagine my reaction to seeing an Egyptian-related TV show while channel surfing. And remember, I was still at that age where watching cartoons is still considered uncool, so I watched this show in secret. So if you haven't guessed by now, my topic for this retrospective is Mummies Alive. First things first is the theme song. Damn, this is catchy. How the hell did I forget about it when I did my top 10 favorite nostalgia themes?
A little boy named Presley found a secret out this year, that he was once a pharaoh when the Egyptians ruled the world, and now the sorcerers named Scarab trying to get him day and night. But Presley has 4 guardians to protect his very life. He has a mummy. From 25 BC. He has a mummy. Protection from the new Ramses. He has a mummy. They're hanging by the Frisco Bay. He has a mummy. Protectors of the world today.
So what we know is the show is about an Egyptian prince who was reborn into the modern age. But due to the magical properties of his spirit, Scarab, a villain from the prince's past, is trying to hunt him down in order to obtain eternal youth. But the mummies of the prince's guardians come back to life to protect his current form. And that's all the show is. Well, as a matter of fact, it isn't. Mummies Alive is a little more complex than that. The characters all have backstory that are explored. It's a fish out of water approach. The mummies once lived in the ancient past, but are now thrusted into the modern world, trying to cope with the changes while at the same time fighting a rich enemy and numerous mythical creatures. Gee, never heard of that before. In fact, both Gargoyles and Mummies Alive had the same writers, so it's easy to see the similarities. But believe it or not, Mummies Alive was originally supposed to be meant for a preteen audience, about 10 to 14, but due to the violence, the producers changed it to be suitable for a younger age group. This would also open an opportunity to sell toys. Guess they did not learn from Biker Mice. That show was violent and it sold toys. But hey, what do I know? But I really do wonder what the show would have looked like had it gone through a more darker path. So let's start off with the prince and the mummies. Prince Ramses was the heir to the Egyptian throne and was reborn as Presley Caravan. Well now, so much for the Egyptian religion and the journey to the afterlife. Looks like Hinduism is the real religion, bitches. Looks like I won't be needing this. The lives of both Ramses and Presley are similar. They are both primarily cared for by their mother, while the father is always away. The role of guardian works both ways between Presley and the mummies. Yes, the mummies are there to protect their prince, but Presley also serves as their guide through the modern world, though he has given up on teaching them science.
It was just an earthquake. San Francisco gets them all the time. See, the planet's surface is made of these huge plates that slide against each other.
The mummies all share the unique personality archetype. We have the balanced leader, the smart one, the fat one, the token female. Wow, never heard of that one either. And to become stronger, they transform.
With the strength of Ra!
Alright then, morphin' time!
By the power of Grayskull!
For the honor of Grayskull!
Oh, for fuck's sakes. But to be fair, their power has limits. They have to recharge it in their sarcophagus.
Okay, let's get this over with.
Okay, so it's clear that it was the Egyptian aspect that drew me to the show, but I'm glad I did, because as I kept watching it, I found out that the characters are actually quite interesting. Jakala isn't just a leader, he plays the role of wise father figure to Presley and in many ways the rest of the team.
Be careful, my prince, when the young lion runs too quickly through the den. Oh, never mind, he doesn't listen anyway.
Wrath isn't just smart, he's a downright snooty know-it-all.
How can we be in the magic box when we are sitting here?
It's far too complicated to explain.
Armand is strong and a very skilled fighter.
Good one, Prince. Even after 3,500 years, you still got the moves.
And Nefertina actually lied to be a guardian. She disguised herself as a man so she could drive chariots.
I only pretended to be a man, since women are not allowed to drive the chariots of the Pharaoh.
No wonder he never went swimming in the Nile with us.
And to add more to the show's credit, we actually get to see their pasts. Together they were appointed to be Prince Rapsi's guardians and teachers. Scarab, who's the advisor of the Pharaoh, plots to kill both him and his son, so he can get control over the kingdom. While the prince does not know this, he is clearly suspicious.
Oh, I hate that guy.
Rapsis, Scarab is the Pharaoh's most trusted advisor. You must show him the respect a governor deserves.
That doesn't mean I have to like him.
I don't blame you, man. I mean, I've never heard of many white guys in ancient Egypt. At least Yu-Gi-Oh got it right when they did flashbacks. In a plot to get the prince alone, Scarab kills him and his guardians when they came to his rescue.
Did you find me in time?
We found you, but Scarab's forces were too strong. We couldn't save you or ourselves. Pharaoh had ordered us to protect you, and we failed.
It was Rapsi's fault. My fault. Jakal, I don't know how, but someday I'll make it up to you.
After learning about this, Presley feels responsible and thus becomes more dedicated to guiding the mummies in their new life. While he does find them to be an annoyance at first, he learns to love them as family. In an episode where it is thought the Pharaoh has returned, Presley questions what will happen to them once the prince's spirit is reunited with his father.
Hold it a second. If the boy prince's spirit runs off with its dad, what happens to me?
You return to existing as you were, of course. Presley Carnarvon, American boy.
You have often said this is what you would like.
But then what happens to you?
Why, we will no longer be needed.
Huh?
We were brought here to protect our young prince. When his spirit is safely with his father, our time in your world will be at an end.
Whoa, man. I never thought about losing you guys.
Watching the mums adapt to the new surroundings is entertaining, and not just with technology.
What will you call your invention, these boards that fly on water?
I think I will call them skids. Yes, water skids. I can't wait to show them to Rapsis. I'll bet he's never seen anything like them.
But also with everyday tasks like getting the groceries.
Now, exactly what part of the chicken is the nugget?
I don't think I want to know.
Which begs the question, why do they need to eat? They're mummies, they don't even have stomachs.
Furthermore, the creature has no internal organs.
I do so. I keep them in a jar right next to my bed.
The cool thing with the show is while we know about their guardian status in the past, we also learn more about their personal lives. Jakal was a family man. He had a wife named Tia and a son named Padjet.
You are both too good to me.
Someone needs to be. You take care of everyone, except yourself.
He also had a brother named Arak and a nephew named Kemis. Arak grew jealous of his brother because he always felt that he had to compete with him.
All my life I've competed with Jakal. First for my father's attention, then in school, now with the Pharaoh. He's always better than me, always making me look bad.
However, Jakal was able to reconcile with his nephew Kemis, who later learns of his father's true intentions.
All my life you told me how Jakal betrayed you. All the evil things he's done.
Jakal doesn't have the courage to betray anyone. No, not my brother. Not the good Jakal. You don't have the guts to take what you want.
No, father. I'll make my own choices. You never loved me like a father should love a son. I've just been a weapon you could use against Jakal.
Wrath was Prince Rapsi's teacher in the past and turned out to be Egypt's answer to Geek Chic. Before being assigned to the prince, Wrath taught many students, his best being a woman named Chantra. The two of them fell in love, but because Wrath obeyed his order to teach the prince, Chantra became bitter and has returned to take out her revenge twice.
You told me I'm the best student you ever had.
Maybe even more than that. But Prince Rapsis is my student now. I must obey the Pharaoh's command, even if my heart commands me to stay.
You'll pay for this, Wrath. You'll end your life a lonely, dried-up husk of a man.
Armand is basically a mama's boy. While it is shown that he is independent and has a competent teacher, he has a soft spot for his mom, especially for her cooking.
Mom?
Just look at you. You're nothing but skin and bones.
Well, I am a mummy, Mummy.
Mummy schmummy. You should eat. Eat!
He lost his arm in battle and was given a golden one by the pharaoh himself.
It was bad enough losing my real arm fighting in Pharaoh's army. Losing my gold one to a bunch of ghosts is even worse.
As I mentioned before, Nefertina originally pretended to be a man to drive chariots, because the law forbidden women from doing so. We find out that Nefertina did not have a strong relationship with her father. After winning a chariot race, she discovered that her father always wanted a son instead of a daughter.
See, I was an only child like you. Back then, when I pretended to be a boy so I could drive the chariots. One time, I won the Nile Valley Championship. I beat every driver, every boy in town. My father didn't recognize me. He came up after and said that he wished he had a son just like me. I guess I wasn't good enough.
She also feels guilty for being afraid to reveal her true gender in the past. She questioned if doing so would have a positive outcome for women, or would just bring her shame. Either way, Nefertina wasn't just a token female of the group, but she was also the show's feminist icon. Not only for being a good fighter, but she was also the mechanic of the group.
You're a woman. Why didn't you tell me, Nefer?
And I was afraid. All I ever wanted to do was drive chariots.
You could have told me. We were friends. Or was that a lie, too?
I couldn't have told the truth. Not without giving up everything I'd become. Because they couldn't accept that a woman could do it.
If you'd had the courage, you could have changed their minds. Instead, you lived a lie. Think of the women who came after you that you could have helped.
The mummies also have a smaller member in their group named Cotti, who is the prince's pet cat.
The mummified remains of a cat, believed to be Prince Rapsi's pet. Poor little guy. Hey, I don't even like cats. Why am I upset?
Cotti may not seem like much, but she does everything that the other mummies can't do, such as provide constant surveillance of their prince. Cotti also lives with Presley most of the time at his home, and is able to do tasks that would leave the mummies unnoticeable. The cat also has an amulet that allows her to transform, although it's never really seen. She transforms into a much larger cat.
Good kitty!
In fact, there's an entire episode where she is the prince's main protector.
Cotti! Good girl! Not bad for a 3,000-year-old furball.
Now, let's talk about the villains. It's basically the same formula that Biker Mice from Mars had. A main protagonist that brings in a flavor of the week. A formula like that gets tiring after a while, but I actually like how it's done here. As I mentioned, Scarab on the surface was an advisor to the pharaoh. However, he was secretly plotted against him. When he was caught for the murder of Prince Rapsis and his guardians, he was sentenced to be entombed alive.
You took my son's life. Now his spirit wanders without rest, waiting to be reborn.
You can't harm me. I shall live for 50 lifetimes. I'll still be young when you've been in your tomb 1,000 years.
At least when I'm in my tomb, I'll be dead. Seal the jackal in his den.
Wait. You can't. Great Pharaoh, I beg you.
But due to his magic, he was able to stay alive for the entire time. When his tomb was discovered by an archaeologist, he was released and he began his quest to find the spirit of the prince so that he could regain his youth.
Find of a lifetime.
Do not go in, it is cursed!
Yusuf, whatever's in there hasn't been able to hurt anyone for 3,500 years. I don't think it's going to start now. It's empty. These aren't hieroglyphs, more like someone counting. Yusuf? Yusuf? At last.
His sidekick is Heka, a snake familiar who also serves as a staff. She's mostly the comedic foil to Scarab, but she shares his goals.
Well, what do you think? I'm glad you're amused. What better way to move unnoticed through the world of children?
Sorry, boss, but you don't know much about being a kid.
I was a child myself once, you know.
When dinosaurs roamed the earth.
To fit in with society, Scarab takes on the identity of Harris Stone, a wealthy man who's also a major benefactor of the museum. The funny thing about him is, while he has evil intentions, he's very protective of the museum and the artifacts inside it.
What we have to consider now is the safety of the treasures of Rapses. They must be sent back to Egypt. Tonight.
But the exhibit just opened.
I'm paying for this exhibit, Ms. Carnarvon. I feel a responsibility to the owners.
Scarab will sometimes go after the prince himself, but other times he summons spirits from the Western Gate. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, there's a portal to the spirit world in San Francisco under the Golden Gate Bridge. It's only open at night and only ancient Egyptians can see it.
There! The Western Gate!
It is so big.
But all those people on the bridge, they're just ignoring it.
They don't see it. One must be an ancient Egyptian to see the Western Gate. The gate can only be open at night. It will disappear with the first rays of the sun.
Anyway, Scarab uses it to summon different spirits, most commonly Egyptian gods and goddesses. And this is where it gets interesting. Now this, I do need. The only disappointing fact is the gods did not look like how I expected them to appear. I was watching the show with a prior knowledge of what these spirits looked like according to ancient carvings. In the show, Net looks like a puffy cloud, Geb is a piece of rock, Nun is a puddle, Set is a hound dog, and I can't even tell what Sekhmet is supposed to be. She's a lioness, okay? Look, she's a lioness. How the hell do you confuse a lioness, whatever the hell this thing is? The only god they got right is Anubis.
My name is Anubis, and I'm a spirit of the underworld.
But they made him dumb as dirt.
How did a rat get here before us?
You had to chase that car, remember?
I'd have caught it too if you hadn't stopped me.
I don't know what's for their comedy relief or the fact that he looks cool, because Set and Anubis are the most commonly called upon spirits in the show. They also appear in the TV movie. So despite the extremely formulated format of the show, why do I still have a soft spot for it? Well, yes, it was the Egyptian aspect that drew me in, but what kept me watching? Honestly? Because it's so goofy. The show is just so damn silly. Silly enough to get a good laugh out of it. The sincerity of the characters make their hijinks more funny. The perfect example of this is an episode called We Got One, where Wrath is mistaken for an injured bystander and is taken to the hospital. When the doctor recognizes that he is a long-dead mummy, she has him stored in the morgue where Wrath wakes up. And the rest writes itself.
What in the name of Osiris is going on here? Oh, my head. Ooh. Don't bother. I'll show myself out.
When it comes to the animation, Mummies Alive was the beginning of the end of its generation. The animation was complex and detailed, not like what's being aired today. Now, I'm not knocking CG animation. I've done it, so I know the effort that's involved. But everything today is either CG or made with a very simplified design. But on the upside, the writing has gotten better. Much better. What we're seeing is more shows that are aimed at kids, but they still appeal to everyone, making the shows that much more smarter. Story and writing-wise, Mummies Alive is not the most sophisticated, but it still has a place in 90s animation history. A second season was planned, but sadly it did not go ahead due to low ratings. Which is a shame because I really thought the show had potential. As of now, only the first 4 episodes are on DVD, but if you're interested in seeing the rest, you can still find them on YouTube or other online sources. So check them out. It's a nice little piece of 90s animation which I think deserves a little more attention. This is Chibi Neko, signing off.